Newly released image of 3I Atlas confirms it's not a comet, stunning researchers worldwide. NASA officials reveal they have decoded transmissions from 3I Atlas. What it says might change everything.
The data streamed in on a Tuesday. It came from the James Webb Space Telescope's near-infrared camera, aimed at a faint smudge of light called Comet 3 I/AT-LAS. At first, it looked like a success, a clear reading of a comet's coma. But then a junior analyst saw it, a rhythmic pulse, a perfectly steady beat hidden in the chemical signature. It was a heartbeat. That's the moment the panic started. NASA has now issued a terrifying warning because that heartbeat is getting closer, and they have concluded that something is alive inside that comet, steering it through our solar system. A pulse in the dark. To put it mildly, space is big, unimaginably big. For centuries, we have pointed our telescopes at the sky and seen a universe that is vast, beautiful, and for the most part, empty and lifeless. Comets, in particular, are seen as the most predictable of cosmic travelers. They are dirty snowballs, remnants from the dawn of the solar system, following strict orbital paths dictated by the pull of the sun and planets. They are cosmic fossils, nothing more. At least, that was the story, until the James Webb Space Telescope took a closer look at a very peculiar visitor named 3I/ATLAS. What many overlooked was that this was no ordinary comet. Discovered by the Atlas survey system, its name carried the designation I for interstellar, meaning it came from the crushing emptiness between the stars. This made it a rare prize, only the second such object ever detected after the infamous Oumuamua. But 3I/ATLAS was different. It was much larger, and unlike its predecessor, it had a visible tail, a coma of gas and dust that should have made its behavior easy to predict. You see, when a comet gets close to the sun, the ice on its surface turns to gas, a process called outgassing. This acts like a tiny rocket engine, giving the comet a gentle push. Astronomers have gotten incredibly good at calculating this push. But 3I/ATLAS refused to play by the rules. From the moment it entered our solar system, it was doing something strange. It was accelerating in a way that the outgassing couldn't explain. There was an invisible force pushing it, a ghost in the machine that defied our understanding of physics. Scientists at NASA were baffled. They threw every explanation at it: solar radiation pressure, magnetic field interactions, even the possibility it was made of some exotic, lightweight material. None of it stuck. The math just didn't add up. The comet was moving with a mind of its own. The thing nobody tells you is that this kind of anomaly is a scientist's worst nightmare because it means our models of the universe are wrong, or something else is going on, something far stranger. That's when they decided to call in the big guns. The James Webb Space Telescope. With its massive gold-plated mirror hanging a million miles from Earth, Webb can see things no other telescope can. It's designed to capture the faint infrared light from the edge of time. They aimed this incredible instrument at 3I/ATLAS, hoping to analyze the chemical makeup of its tail. They wanted to understand the composition of the gas to figure out why it was pushing the comet so erratically. They expected to find water, carbon monoxide, the usual suspects. What they found instead was the beginning of a terrifying revelation. The first results were shocking. The comet's tail contained an unprecedented ratio of carbon dioxide to water, a staggering 8-to-1. For a normal comet, this is unheard of. It was like finding a fish that could breathe fire. This massive amount of outgassing should have been pushing the comet with tremendous force, yet the acceleration was subtle, smooth, and controlled. It wasn't the chaotic sputtering of a melting iceberg. It was something else entirely. It was a steady rhythmic process, and deep within that rhythmic release of carbon dioxide, the telescope's sensitive instruments detected a faint, almost imperceptible modulation, a pulse, a steady repeating pattern like a slow, deliberate breath. In the cold, dead vacuum of space, something was breathing. This discovery was just the beginning. The real terror came when they realized what was causing it: a biological engine. When the data first came back to the Goddard Space Flight Center, nobody could believe it. A rhythmic pulse from a comet. It had to be a mistake, an instrument glitch, interference from a satellite, solar flares, anything but the impossible. Teams of scientists spent weeks trying to debunk the signal. They ran diagnostics, recalibrated sensors, and checked the data against every known natural phenomenon. But the signal remained. It was real. It was a steady low-frequency beat, embedded in the plume of carbon dioxide trailing 3I/ATLAS for thousands of miles. The rhythm was slow, once every 22 minutes, but it was as consistent as a ticking clock. Many people are crazy about the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, or SETI. They imagine radio signals, alien languages, or flashing lights. But not all things are what they seem. Life doesn't always advertise itself. Sometimes it just survives. The team at NASA began to explore a radical, terrifying new hypothesis. What if the anomaly wasn't a flaw in their physics, but a flaw in their biology? What if the excess carbon dioxide wasn't from sublimating ice, but from respiration, the process by which living organisms convert nutrients into energy, breathing in one substance and breathing out another? What if the comet wasn't a comet at all, but a shell, an egg, or a vehicle? This idea, known as panspermia, the theory that life travels between planets on comets and asteroids, has been around for a long time, but it was always thought to be about simple microbes, tough little critters that could survive radiation and cold in a dormant state. What Webb had found suggested something far more complex. The sheer scale of the energy required to move an object the size of 3I/ATLAS, which was estimated to be several miles in diameter, was immense. To put it mildly, no microbe could do that. This would require a vast, coordinated biological system, a single massive organism. Scientists began to model what such a creature would look like. They theorized it could be something like a silicoid, a life form based on silicon instead of carbon, perfectly adapted to live in a vacuum. It might not have a body in the way we understand it. It could be a colossal semi-crystalline entity, interwoven with the ice and rock of the comet itself, forming a symbiotic relationship. The comet would provide a shield against radiation and cosmic rays, while the creature within would metabolize minerals and ice for energy. Its breath, the steady plume of carbon dioxide, would be its form of propulsion. It would be a biological engine, patiently navigating the stars. This wasn't just life. This was life that had conquered interstellar travel. The wow factor here is just how tough life can be. On Earth, we have extremophiles, creatures that live in boiling volcanic vents under miles of Antarctic ice, or in pure acid. They prove that life is stubborn, but an organism that lives in a comet that uses a biological process to steer itself through the void. That's a whole new level. It would have to be billions of years old, traveling from one star system to another, a silent pilgrim in the dark. The steady beat Webb detected wasn't a radio signal, it was something far more profound. It was a heartbeat. And as NASA tracked the comet, they noticed something else that sent a chill down their spines. After it swung around the sun, its path changed. Its heartbeat became stronger, more regular. It was no longer just a passive traveler. It was awake, and its new course was bringing it disturbingly close to Earth's orbital path. A change of course. The moment 3I/ATLAS passed behind the sun, something changed forever. For months, it was hidden from our view, a period astronomers call conjunction. When it emerged, it was different. Its trajectory had shifted in a way that defied all gravitational models. Before, it was on a path that would fling it back out into interstellar space. Now, its orbit was shallower, more stable. It was slowing down, as if it had decided to linger in our inner solar system. What many overlooked was that this wasn't a random orbital shift caused by the sun's gravity. It was too precise for that. It was a course correction. This is the core of NASA's terrifying warning. The object is not just alive, it appears to be intentional. The steady breathing had now stabilized, the propulsion becoming more efficient, its axis of rotation smoother. It was no longer tumbling like a simple piece of rock. It was steering itself. The invisible force was no longer a mystery. It was the will of a living creature, and its new destination seemed to be the third planet from the sun. It wasn't on a direct collision course, but its new path would bring it closer to Earth than any interstellar object in recorded history. A cosmic flyby measured in hundreds of thousands of miles, not millions. In astronomical terms, that's a stone's throw. The panic inside the space and defense communities is palpable. You see, an object that can change its own course is not a natural phenomenon. It is a vehicle, a biological one, and a vehicle always has a purpose. What could this creature want? Is it just curious, drawn to the chemical signs of life on our planet? Or is its purpose more sinister? The thing nobody tells you is that when you are dealing with a completely unknown form of life, you have to assume the worst. The biological risk alone is staggering. We have no idea what alien microorganisms it might carry. An organism that can survive the vacuum of space would likely find Earth to be a paradise. Our ecosystem, unprotected and naive, could be overwhelmed by a biology so ancient and resilient it makes our toughest bacteria look fragile. This has triggered a secret, worldwide alert. The warning isn't just about a potential impact, it's about a potential encounter. Military satellites are now trained on 3I/ATLAS around the clock. Contingency plans are being drawn up, plans so secret they are spoken of only in secure rooms deep underground. How do you stop a threat you don't understand? You can't just shoot a missile at it. That might just shatter it, scattering its biological material across a wider area and making the problem 1,000 times worse. This isn't a Hollywood movie. This is a quarantine scenario on a planetary scale. The warning from NASA scientists is this: we are facing a context we have never prepared for. It's not an invasion with spaceships and lasers. It's the arrival of a life form that is more ancient, more resilient, and potentially more dangerous than anything in our nightmares. It has traveled for eons through the cold, harsh darkness between suns. It is a master of survival, and it is now just a few years away from our doorstep. A silent, living mountain of ice and rock deliberately approaching. The biggest question is not just what is it, but what will it do when it gets here? The official warning is terrifying, but the unofficial theories being whispered in secret are even worse. Theories of the unthinkable. The official warning from NASA is sterile and scientific, focused on orbital mechanics and biological contamination risks. But behind the scenes, in hushed conversations and on encrypted servers, a set of much wilder, more profound theories are taking shape. You see, when faced with something so completely outside of our experience, the human imagination runs wild. These aren't just fantasy. They are attempts by brilliant minds to make sense of the impossible. And to put it mildly, they are far more unsettling than the official story. One of the most prominent theories is the cosmic cedar hypothesis. This idea suggests that 3I/ATLAS isn't a threat at all, but a primordial gardener. What if its purpose is to spread life throughout the galaxy? This ancient being could be carrying a payload of basic biological building blocks, or even dormant extremophiles designed to be deposited on planets that show the potential for life. The creature's deliberate course change towards Earth wouldn't be an act of aggression, but an act of planting. The rhythmic pulse could be the organism preparing its seeds for dispersal as it nears a warm, wet, and hospitable world. While this sounds hopeful, it comes with a terrifying catch. What kind of life is it seeding? Is it compatible with our own? Or would it be an invasive species on a planetary scale, rewriting our biosphere from the ground up? Then there's the darker, more psychological theory known as the galactic test. Proponents of this idea point to the object's strange behavior, its subtle acceleration, its precise course correction, its quiet, rhythmic signal. It's almost as if it's designed to be noticed, but only by a civilization with advanced enough technology, like the James Webb Telescope. The theory suggests that 3I/ATLAS is a test sent by a hyper-advanced intelligence to gauge the maturity of emerging species like our own. How do we react? Do we panic and reach for our weapons? Do we greet it with open arms? Or do we study it with caution and curiosity? Our collective response to its arrival would be our final exam as a species. Passing the test could mean an invitation to a galactic community. Failing it could mean being marked as too primitive or too dangerous and left in isolation, or worse. Perhaps the most awe-inspiring and humbling theory is that of the hibernating Leviathan. This idea posits that the creature within 3I/ATLAS isn't a tool or a messenger. It simply is a colossal ancient life form that roams the galaxy the way a whale roams the ocean, For millions of years, it may have been in a state of deep hibernation, drifting through the interstellar void. The warmth of our sun could be waking it up. Its course change might not be a deliberate move towards Earth, but a simple, instinctual reaction to a new source of energy. It may be as unaware of us as a whale is of the plankton it swims through. But the thing nobody tells you is that a whale's casual flick of its tail can create a tidal wave for a microscopic creature. This leviathan might have no ill intent, but its sheer scale and alien biology could have catastrophic, unintended consequences for our world. Its awakening could disrupt the gravitational balance of our solar system or release biological waste products that are toxic to our form of life. It wouldn't be an attack. It would simply be the consequence of a giant waking up next to us. These wild theories are mind-bending, but what does this all mean for you and me, the great filter or the great teacher? So, here we are. A living comet is on its way. NASA is scared, the world's governments are holding secret meetings, and we're all supposed to just go about our days. But let's step back for a second and really think about this. The thing is, does this all really happen overnight? One day we're looking at funny cat videos, and the next, there's a giant space creature heading our way. It makes you wonder, are we missing a key detail here? Is the story we're being told the whole story, or is this something that has been happening for a long time and we're only just now noticing because we finally have a toy powerful enough, like the James Webb Telescope, to see it? Think about it from a down-to-earth perspective. This thing, 3I/ATLAS, traveled for what could be millions, maybe billions of years to get here. It survived the unimaginable cold and radiation of deep space. An organism that tough and that patient probably isn't driven by simple, aggressive impulses. That kind of thinking is very human, very predator or prey. What if its purpose isn't something we can understand in terms of invasion or threat? The great mystery of Oumuamua, the first interstellar visitor, was its strange acceleration. Now we have a second one, 3I/ATLAS, doing something even weirder and more obviously biological. What if these aren't isolated events? What if they are probes, but not technological ones? Maybe the universe is filled with life, but it's biological, patient, and quiet, and it's been passing through our backyard for eons. It makes you reconsider all those old stories of strange lights in the sky, or astronomical events that were quickly dismissed as swamp gas or instrument error. Were they all just little hints we were too primitive to understand? This is where the official story starts to feel a little thin. We're told to be terrified, and maybe we should be, but maybe the real feeling should be awe. Many people are crazy about the idea of the Great Filter, the theory that civilizations hit a wall and destroy themselves before they can master interstellar travel. But what if the filter isn't about technology? What if it's about biology? Maybe the ultimate form of life isn't one that builds cities and spaceships, but one that becomes the spaceship, an organism that can carry its own world with it, perfectly adapted to the cosmos, a self-contained ecosystem drifting on the cosmic winds. Such a creature wouldn't be looking to conquer, it would just be looking to exist, to experience, to observe. What many overlooked is that this discovery changes our place in the universe forever. The warning from NASA is based on fear of the unknown, and that's understandable. But for the average person, the question is different, and it hits a lot closer to home. If something out there is alive and it's coming here, what does that mean for us right now? What happens to the global economy when we confirm a living mountain is on an intercept course with our region of space? What happens to all our grand plans and petty squabbles? Does it invalidate our religions, or does it confirm them in a way we never expected? Does it change our politics, forcing nations that have been enemies for centuries to suddenly sit at the same table and come up with a plan? It means we have to start thinking of ourselves not as Americans, or Chinese, or Russians, but as Earthlings, a single fragile tribe on a tiny blue dot. The arrival of 3I/ATLAS isn't just a scientific crisis, it's an identity crisis for the entire human race. We've grown up as the only kids on the block, and we might be about to find out that there's a much bigger, older, and stranger neighborhood out there. The warning is real, but maybe the true terror isn't what's inside the comet. Maybe it's the realization of how small and unprepared we truly are and how we might react to the news. The real first contact won't be with the alien, it will be with ourselves as we are forced to look in the mirror as a species for the very first time. We are standing on the edge of the biggest discovery in history. Is 3I/ATLAS a messenger, a threat, or just a lost traveler? What do you think its true purpose is? Let us know in the comments. Like and subscribe for more mind-bending stories. Is humanity ready for the truth?